Now, they say sorry is a magic word. If you want to reconcile with a friend or bury your past, just say sorry and work from there. But what if you failed an entire nation? Would sorry cut it? British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says yes, but his country says not so fast. I'm talking about the partygate scandal. When Britain was locked down, Downing Street was partying, not once or twice, but 16 times. The Prime Minister himself attended a few of them, so the opposition's demand was clear, say sorry and resign. But Boris Johnson was adamant. He said, let's wait for the Sue Gray report. Now, who's Sue Gray? She's a civil servant working at the Cabinet Office in London. Boris Johnson asked her to investigate the lockdown parties. On Monday, her report was published. It was a typical government assessment. You can smell the gunpowder, but you cannot see the smoking gun. Sue Gray does not take names in her report. She does not blame individuals either. What she does reveal is a culture of recklessness. Downing Street did not care about COVID restrictions. They did not care about the hardships of 70 million Britons. Let me quote from the Sue Gray report. Against the backdrop of the pandemic, when the government was asking citizens to accept far-reaching restrictions on their lives, some of the behavior surrounding these gatherings is difficult to justify. That's putting it mildly. So the party should not have happened. We already know that. The question is, who takes the blame? Let's tell you what Sue Gray says. There were failures of leadership and judgment by different parts of Number 10 and the Cabinet Office at different times. Some of the events should not have been allowed to take place. Other events should not have been allowed to develop as they did. Failure of leadership, she says. Again, we already know that. Sue Gray's report does not reveal anything new. It only reaffirms what we already knew. 1, Boris Johnson could not control his staff. 2, he himself violated the rules. And 3, he tried to cover it up. The next question is, what will be the consequences? The entire opposition and some within his own party are on the attack. Listen to this.
Rather than come clean, every step of the way, he's insulted the public's intelligence. And now he's finally fallen back on his usual excuse. It's everybody's fault but his. They go, he stays.
What the Gray report does show is that Number 10 Downing Street was not observing the regulations they had imposed on members of the public. So either my right honourable friend had not read the rules, or didn't understand what they meant, and others around him, or they didn't think the rules applied to Number 10. Which was it?
Sharp words, especially coming from a former Tory Prime Minister. But Boris Johnson has no plans to resign. He's betting on those magic words. Sorry, let me fix it.
I will address its findings in this statement, but firstly I want to say sorry. And I'm sorry for the things we simply didn't get right, and also sorry for the way that this matter has been handled. And it's no use saying that this or that was within the rules, and it's no use saying that people were working hard.
Sorry so many times reminds me of Mark Zuckerberg. The British public is losing patience with Prime Minister Boris Johnson. They're frustrated, and that frustration can be seen in the newspapers. Let me show you how they covered the Sue Gray report. Here's what the Mirror carried. Zero shame, they said. The Metro called it a failure of leadership. iNews said PM pleads for his job. How much more bad press can the Prime Minister take? So far, he's been stubborn, but the next step could seal his fate. You see, Sue Gray is not the only one investigating this. The British police are also on the job. Sue Gray has given them 300 photographs, 300, and 500 pages of documents. What do they show? Pictures of the lockdown parties, CCTV footage of people entering Downing Street. That could be the smoking gun. The Prime Minister himself could be questioned by the police. If found guilty, he may be fined or worse, charged with abuse of power. In that case, resignation is his only option. Irrespective of what happens to Boris Johnson, one thing is clear. Downing Street needs a complete overhaul. I'm talking about the entire setup, the staff, the Prime Minister's advisors, the lack of oversight. All of this needs to change. Sue Gray's report does mention these problems. For instance, some of the staff wanted to report these lockdown parties, but they could not because they felt unable to do so. Also, the apparent streak of partying If there were 16 parties during lockdown, imagine the situation in normal times. Sue Gray's report does talk about this. And I'm quoting again, the excessive consumption of alcohol is not appropriate in a professional workplace at any time. Steps must be taken to ensure that every government department has a clear and robust policy in place covering the consumption of alcohol at the workplace. The verdict is clear. Downing Street is toxic, booze savvy, and drunk on power. It certainly needs to be reformed. But the question is, who reforms it? The man who joined in on the rule breaking, or a new Prime Minister? WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.